100%ing Ultrakill and getting a refund. Welcome, everybody. This is going to be a fun video. It's going to be maybe a long video, maybe a short video. I'm still in the process of making this. And all the new viewers here, welcome. I'm Booshican. I do speedruns for New Game 100. And today we're going to be 100%ing the game and getting a refund. Now, as a New Game 100 speedrunner, this challenge is familiar to me. I do this very often in speedrunning. I average about an hour and a half on my runs. My most recent is under an hour and a half at about 1 hour and 28 minutes long. And I wanted to get myself a little bit more challenged. I didn't feel like this would be as fun if I finished in an hour and a half, so I decided to include a few things that I don't normally do within the speedrun variant of New Game 100. Today we are going to P-rank every level, do every challenge, get every secret, do every secret level, obtain all 5 custom weapon colors, complete the entire spawner arm menu, get every custom cheat, and get the Wave 25 checkpoint in cybergrind. This will be done within 2 hours on the violent difficulty due to it being the most consistent difficulty. And this was all recorded in one go. This is on a VOD on my channel if you would like to see the whole thing. And it is definitely a blast. It was probably one of the toughest challenges I've ever done in Ultrakill. It is by far one that got my heart racing, and I hope you enjoy this video. So without further ado, let's start in the tutorial. The tutorial isn't really anything to write home about. It's about the exact same as it normally is in a speedrun. However, we can actually skip the secret here, which is weird considering everything, but this secret, 1, does not count to anything, and 2, infinitely regenerates. There's no way to collect the secret because it just respawns the next time you go through the level. Fast forward into 01, and now we're just running around with the Piercer, collecting 5 secrets, killing enough enemies to get 25,000 style. You'll figure out why we need that later. And just killing everything. It's really as simple as that. The level's really nothing too special going on with it. It's just 01 with the Piercer only. And fast forward to 02 now, we now have the Sharpshooter, and with this we're going to be able to have some easy arena clears. Some of the secrets are a bit tricky, like the one in the Blood Tunnel in 0-2. However, for the most part, the level is going to be relatively easy. Sword Machine is a little slower since we don't have the marksman, but at the end of the day, we're at an overall decent time save. And with that, we go on to 0-S. 0-S is a pretty short level. There's nothing really to worry about unless RNG isn't on your side and something wicked is standing in your way. Overall, it's kind of just a straight path right into 0-3. Speaking of which, 0-3 is our first level that we need to do 2 runs for. The first part of the run is going to be going after Sword Machine on his own in order to do the challenge. We'll follow this up by doing the P% route where we do the P rank and the 3 secrets. The first Sword Machine fight goes off without a hitch. It's absolutely perfect, and to be completely honest with you, that was a really good sign this early on in a run. Prelude often makes or breaks a New Game 100 run, so having really good kill times is really good. The P% is a little more difficult because you have to deal with more stuff, but at the end of the day, you're in the Prelude, everything's fodder, and you have the overpump and the core eject by now. You can just deal with everything and then hard wipe Sword Machine at the end, which is exactly what happens in this run. And on to 04. 04 starts out in a really silly way. In order to do the challenge, we need to slide for 17 seconds consecutively, which is where we go into a free slide state where you core eject or rocket yourself or any other form of knockback while in a slide state. This causes you to just start freely sliding around the ground, and mix this with the chainsaw, and the first arena in 04 can just be done by sliding. Outside of that, however, this run was very simple, especially for 04. It's very similar to like 01, just kind of running around killing everything. And finally, we're going to be on to 0-5, the finale of Prelude. Cerberus is always a bit of a tricky level in New Game 100, simply due to the aspect of not being able to kill them. You have to have them kill themselves by throwing balls at each other. However, overall, the fight's really not too hard, and you can get them very close before they die. Word of advice though, if you ever want to try the run, if they look like they're about to die, don't try to shoot them and figure out. Skipping 1-1 here for a moment, we're going to dive into 1S, which is just the puzzle level. This level spits you back into 1-1, so it's better to do it now than later. And we can skip the last 9 puzzles by just diving into this wall here, so what a lovely level. Going back into 1-1 now, this level is actually pretty short, pretty simple, pretty to the point. It's just going through, killing enemies, grabbing the nail gun, which is completely useless in this level anyways, and then going all the way back around, killing more enemies, making sure to grab the first rune because we will need to be getting all weapons, including their alternate variants, and on to 1-2. 1-2 is wonderful because of the glorious conductor, which if you don't know what the conductor does, you're living under a rock because this thing can just wipe out entire arenas on a whim. Street cleaners are not really an issue anyways, and aside from that, this level is pretty simple. We are going to save doing the challenge for later, but for now we're just going to kill the cancerous rodent, get the second rune, and then we're going to go on to 1-3. 1-3 is one of the longest levels in the run, and it's very simple for most arena clears. The only issue is that the level's pretty long. Obviously at the end we'd also be killing Tundra and Agony, but this is the first long level in the run, and it's really not that bad at the end of the day. Conductor makes a lot of rooms an absolute breeze, and very, very, very quickly we will just be on our way down into 1-4. I'm pretty sure me recording the audio is actually longer than the 1-4 boss fight, because, to put it simply, the only difference between this and a 1-4 speedrun is picking up the slab. And aside from that, the level is the exact same. You point in, you give the knuckle blaster, and you're just on your way. Being now into the middle of the run, this is where things start to get a little more routine, as 2-1 requires us to do it twice. Now, it's not a very difficult level, and overall, for both the NE% and P% sections, it's an absolute breeze, and overall, we're going to see a recurring theme here of middle levels just being a complete level, move on to the next, and completely ignore them. And 2-2 will suffer a very similar thing. 2-2, very similar to 2-1, requires us to do it twice. The NE% is faster to do first, simply because we get the rail cannon, thus the Mao rail, and allow us to core nuke the P% section of 2-2 and make the level a whole lot easier. All in all though, this level's very short, and there's really nothing special to it. With that being said, on to 2-3. 2-3 is a very fun level. It's got a very set strategy to it, however, but that doesn't really matter. You can do the whole level in one go, and it's honestly a really fun level. If you ever want to try New Game 100 on the start, this is honestly one of the best levels to start with, simply because it's just a really fun, dandy level. And with that being said, we're going to have to take the exit to 2S. I'm going to summarize 2S with telling you to go into your settings, setting your FPS limit to none, and then turning off VSync, and then holding spacebar and spamming left click. And that's literally just what the speedrun is. Congratulations, now you know. 2-4 is a fun level that just recently got a reroute in New Game 100 as well, by flipping out of bounds at the start and just flinging yourself all the way to Minos. The level's very short and there's really nothing special to it overall, but it's a nice, fun little ending to this, and a good entrance into Gluttony. 3-1 is a pretty weird level overall, I'd say. The hardest part of the level is just dissolving the Mind Flayer in acid, and then after that point, you're just kind of going through the level. You can skip the third secret in the level for now, too, since, you know, we'll have to go back for it once we do P1, which we can't get to because we haven't even done 3-2 yet. Overall, the level's pretty short, kind of similar mid-level thing going on where it's just kind of going through the level, and on to 3-2, the climax. 3-2 now, the finale of Act 1, was a very short, sweet, to-the-point level, clipping out bounds, ultra boosting, and then proceeding to murder Gabriel and drop him into a pit. Overall, very good Act 1, and we finish off Act 1 now with 28 minutes on the clock, giving us about an hour and 30 minutes left to complete this challenge. Starting Act 2 with a pretty good level here, we have 4-1. 4-1 is a fun enough level. Needing to do it twice isn't the worst thing ever in the first place anyways. And overall, it's a really fun level, really short. Virtues are introduced, which hardly pose much of a threat compared to everything else. And that's really it for this level. It's just a good start. Immediately followed by one of the toughest levels, 4-2, being one of the longer levels in the run and also one of the more difficult levels. Overall, it's one of the tougher ones, but that's not really saying much considering most levels are done pretty fast. All in all, this level's a pretty good cakewalk, and at the very end, we backtrack all the way back so that we can hit 4-S. Needing to get the Clash Mode cheat means we need to get all boxes in 4-S, but do we really need to get all boxes? Or do we just need to get 78 boxes? Meet the strategy where we basically go out of bounds and then checkpoint right before finishing the level in first person to put us back into first person, where we then fling ourselves across the area to take out 78 boxes exact by slam storing 17 times on this checkpoint. Afterwards, we just fly over to the exit and claim Clash Mode. 4-3 is one of the first levels that's actually different in the run. The main difference here being us fighting the Druid Knight, actually. Normally, in New Game 100, you don't need to do this. However, since we need to complete the spawner arm, we need to encounter the Druid Knight. The only way to encounter him is to then fight him, and thus we must fight the Druid Knight. Aside from that, 4-3 is really nothing special, other than being really dark, I guess. And finally, on to 4-4. After getting the saw blades, we restart so that we can do the challenge and the P rank in one foul swoop. I bet you thought you needed the whiplash to do that. You don't. You can actually get here if you do everything perfectly, which happens in this run. That settles the end of Greed, and on to Wrath. Entering Wrath is where the levels start getting a lot longer. Starting off with 5-1, we just run in, grab all the secrets, kill all the enemies, and do all of this in the water. Later on down the line, we'll come back for 5S in the challenge. However, for now, we're going to leave this level. Overall, nothing too special in the level. The introduction to sentries is fine, and we can replace the SRS cannon with the Unchained Saw. 5-2 is a relatively short level. However, in this run, I messed up part of it, and my brain basically added a minute of time because I don't know why, but I started doing the level any percent, and then just halfway through, I was like, okay, never mind, we're doing P% now, and then I had to restart because, you know, you can't do it either of those ways. Overall, the level's just whatever aside from that. You're just kind of going through, grabbing all the secrets, and then coining the ferryman in the 80%, and then in the P% you're just killing the ferryman and everything else. There's really nothing too special to this level overall. The same can't be said, however, for 5-3, which is one of the toughest levels in the run. This level requires a lot of combat early on, very quick-paced, and overall is a very tough level early on, and it just gets even more difficult. You think that once you get the rocket launcher, you're off the hook because you're in the abandoned section. No! You need to do the challenge. And what is that challenge? Don't touch water, which can be very difficult in some places. Forces you to get the red skull. And on top of that, you have to loop back around at the end of the level to take out the last 4 enemies, or else you have to redo the level again. It's much easier to do this entire level in one go, and this is one of the toughest levels in the run. Going from 100 straight to rock bottom 0 here with 5-4, which is one of the easiest levels in the game. I mean, just shoot the Malrail into Leviathan's mouth and he's basically dead. Overall, I'm sure the recording of this audio is longer than the actual level. Aside from killing Angry and Rude, really there's hardly any major differences. There's also the one blood orb, but also that doesn't really change too much. Overall, 6-1's kind of the same, I'm not gonna lie. After 5-4, really, most of the levels start bleeding into P% pretty often, simply because you have everything other than the alt shotgun by now. And overall, a lot of levels are going to be very similar in that way. Wrapping things up finally in Act 2 with 6-2, we have Gabriel, and honestly this is a lot easier to deal with than the first Gabriel fight. In total, it is just so much easier to knock him into the ceiling than to knock him into a pit. And this level just kind of goes off without a hitch. As we wrap up Act 2 with about 58 minutes on the clock, we can finally go back and loop around to 2-1. Doing 2-1, we're just going to go through and do the secret exit, looping back again to 3-1 and on our way to P1. Now P1 is probably one of the most important levels in the run. As I mentioned before, we need all custom weapon colors, and how we're going to do that is we're going to split Dead Coin Minos to death. This is a very difficult section because if you mess up at all, you're adding time to the run. Like, there is literally no way around it. This is absolutely required for 100%, and it's a tough one, but as you can see in this run, we managed to pull it off. Going back now into Act 2, back to just loop around into 5-1, we're going to go do 5S. 5S is honestly just a very short, fun level. It's a very nice break from P1, and it's a good little break between P1 and P2. Recently, it's actually changed to be this way. Beforehand, you used to just have to go straight from P1 to P2, which is a nice little route change in my opinion. Finally, on to P2 in order to finally cap off everything before going into violence. P2 it's a tough level for a lot of people, but honestly with how long I've ran the run, it's really nothing too special. We did need a Dead Coin Sisyphus here at the end due to the lack thereof of style from Minos. We needed about 4.5 million from Minos. We got about 4 million. However, Sisyphus granted us a lovely loan of 1 million P, which shoots us way over the threshold, allowing us to continue this run normally. Finally, off to violence. We're starting off pretty strong here with 7-1. Overall, the level's pretty easy, but it does have some parts to it that make it a bit more difficult. Those parts being Big John and the Minotaur. Minotaur normally is a pretty easy kill, and he still is a pretty easy kill in the New Game 100. However, due to the time being an RTA, the sheer amount of hit stop that Minotaur generates actually causes issues. Normally we could skip this, however I messed that up, and it appears that Minotaur had to die the normal way. Regardless though, 7-1 is cleared. Finally, moving on to 7-2, we immediately run into the longest level in the game. Due to the mix of the alt shotgun, the out of place secrets, and the sheer amount of tanky enemies in this level, it is a very long, very tough level. Overall, it's also needed to be done in 2 runs due to the challenge. All in all, it's a fun level. I wish the alt shotgun was more useful, however, sadly we don't really use it too much since you get in the last 2 levels. Overall, good level, on to 7-3. Fast forwarding into 7-3, we have a long, however not nearly as long, level. We can skip Mark for Death near the start and allow ourselves to basically do the entire level without triggering the ambush event. Afterwards, of course, we do need to get Marked for Death and trigger the ambush event, not to kill the enemies necessarily, but to ride the gutter tank rocket into the exit door. Doing this will cause a very easy entrance into 7S and allow us safe passage into it. 7S overall is a kind of boring level. In the long scheme of things, we just sort of clip out of bounds, grab the skull, clip out of bounds again, vacuum some ghosts up for the ghost drone cheat, and on our way into 7-4. This level doesn't really have much going on for it. Going into 7-4 now, we fight against our arch nemesis, the Earth Mover. Doing the P% route first in order to have the tab menu, making the challenge a little easier to do with the route it's done with. Afterwards, of course, we need to make sure that we give Earth Mover a nice botched haircut in order to ensure that he always remembers us. And after this, we will be moving on to cybergrind, but not before a small, very brief intermission. This brief intermission includes collecting Peter and Floor. Floor, of course, requiring us to get to the other side of 5-2 without Yakito killing us. Doing these two fully completes the spawner arm, leaving the only objective we still need to do in this run to be getting to wave 50 in the cybergrind. The beginning of the cybergrind goes off pretty much without a hitch. Waves 1 to 10 are very easy. I think anyone can do these in their sleep, if I'm being honest. And afterwards, 10 to 20 really wasn't too bad. However, on wave 21, we experienced our first major setback. Dying in the cybergrind meant a lot of issues, especially since we had only about 20 minutes left remaining. Normally, cybergrind takes about 25 minutes for me in total to get to 1 to 50, so this was close. This was going to be tight. Starting from wave 10 again, we make our way back up, and from waves 10 to 30, honestly, it's a breeze. And especially in the mid-30s, you can start telling, especially if you watch the VOD, that I'm getting tired. It's been a very long time since I've had to do a run this long, and doing it at this pace, at this speed, and going full 100 all the way into cybergrind is tough, and especially with the waves it was giving me. And with only roughly 30 seconds to spare, we've managed to complete wave 49, taking us to wave 50. At this point, all you need to do is just die, respawn, and ensure that you got the checkpoint. And with that, the challenge is done. With that now done, we have now successfully 100%ed all of Ultrakill, grabbing all secrets, all P ranks, all challenges, spawner arm, cheats. This is where I start getting a little more unserious because you get the point. I got everything. This video was fun to make. This video was really nice. This is a first for me, so if the editing's a little choppy, please do scream at me. Overall, this was really fun to make. Now for the challenge itself, to be a little bit more serious here for a moment. Would I do this again? If I had failed this challenge the first time, if I had gotten all the way to an hour 59 and died on the final wave of cybergrind and then, you know, that was it, would I have done this challenge again? Probably not. But I say that as someone with retrospect. I say that if I did die, like I wouldn't get bored and immediately try it again. Overall though, this challenge was hard. This challenge was tough. If you don't know, New Game 100 normally doesn't require the cybergrind, it doesn't require getting floor per keter, and it doesn't require the Druid Knight. Those are things I tacked on to make this challenge a little bit tougher, because, to be completely honest, I thought that if I had just done, like, you know, what's it called? If I had just gone in and gotten like an hour 30-minute time, yeah, sure, would have been a video, would have been decent, but like, I wanted to get that tight. I want to get that close. So yeah, this is the first for me, and I hope you guys enjoyed. If you do, like and subscribe. I'll probably end up making more if this pops off, and goodbye.